Hey folks, back again with another episode of Gravity Falls. This one is Summerween, and it was fun. Oh, I really liked this one. It was just end-to-end ridiculous. I mean, let's start with the utterly transparent excuse for a show that's set during a summer to have a Halloween episode. The notion that the people in town have 2 Halloweens a year. And yet they ran with it. I mean, I love the watermelon jack-o'-lanterns. Those are brilliant. And then you've got the candy monster itself, which is great. One of the things this episode does that the show has not done a lot before is it has basically 3 plots, which I think before the show has capped out generally at 2. But we've got the Dipper kind of has his own plot, and it's his usual plot of being torn between adulthood and childhood. Then there's the plot of the trick-or-treaters and the candy monster, as it eventually turns out to be, the Summerween trickster, which is not a great monster name, really. I mean, tricksters are cool and all, but you can't actually be called trickster. It's just not a good, it just doesn't sound like a good monster name. But anyway, and then the third one is Stan trying to scare the 2 kids who were raised on horror movies. And what's great is that all 3 of them are kind of about the same thing, because they're all 3 about what gets left behind. And how much it hurts to be left behind. So Dipper and Mabel are growing up. Eventually, they will probably stop trick-or-treating. Most people do. Honestly, at least around here, this generation doesn't trick-or-treat. This generation of kids. I haven't seen a trick-or-treater in years, not since I was a teenager. But regardless, point is, they're getting older. They're probably going to stop trick-or-treating soon. Dipper is considering stopping already out of a desire to impress the older kids. And that really hurts Mabel's feelings, because she's being left behind. For her, Halloween was a time when she and Dipper were together. They worked together as a pair to create those twin costumes and get huge amounts of candy. It was a time when she could feel close to her brother. And he's now moving on and leaving her behind. It's the exact same feeling that curses the candy and brings into being the candy monster, which I actually love because that's how a lot of Japanese monsters get their origin. Not so much Japanese horror movie monsters, but traditional ones, yokai. There's this notion that inanimate objects what we think of as inanimate objects have souls. And if you mistreat them, they might take vengeance on you. My favorite story about that is one I've heard about a little girl who was eating an ice cream cone, and she did that thing where you knock the scoop off the cone onto the ground. Accidentally, you're licking it and you just knock it off onto the ground and your ice cream is ruined. And so she just tossed it aside and got another one. And that angered the spirit of the ice cream cone that she was so dismissive of it and replaced it so easily. So it started haunting her. And yes, that is where the idea for the ice cream cone Pokemon came from. They weren't out of ideas. There's still plenty more yokai for them to mine. A lot of those really weird Pokemon are yokai. But that's a digression. The point is, the candy monster is the same concept. It's the discarded candy that nobody wanted, and all of those negative feelings bring it to life. They cause it to animate and seek revenge on those who discard that candy. Um, there's a little bit of, the boogie monster there. It's punishing picky children for being picky, just like the boogeyman will come for you if you don't eat your vegetables. It's the kind of monster that parents make up to frighten their kids into behaving. The stick to the Santa Claus Easter Bunny carrot. So, you've got that parallel there, and then you've also got it with Stan feeling like he's been left behind. He can no longer scare the children. The horror movies are now scarier than he is. So, he is now being left behind, dismissed. He's feeling a loss of worth. And that's really what it is for all three of Stan, Mabel, and the monster, is they feel discarded. They feel like they're being treated like they have no worth. They feel like their feelings aren't being taken into account. Because they aren't. The kids don't care how Stan feels. Dipper doesn't care how Mabel feels until he starts to, much too late. And nobody cares how Candy feels because it doesn't occur to anybody that Candy might have feelings. I'm referring to the Candy Monster, not the character Candy, who continues to be neck and neck with the pig for being the cutest thing in this show. If BMO's voice ever starts coming out of the pig's mouth, that's it, I'm done. But no, it's very clever use of the three different stories to really tell one story, which is, appreciate what you have. Don't just discard it in pursuit of what's new. And take into account, when you discard someone or dismiss something, take into account the feelings of other people. In particular, the people who you might be discarding. Dipper treats Mabel, and those kids treat Stan like kids have been treating the discarded Candy. And really, that's the real reason the Candy animates. The reason it comes after them is because when you treat people like things, well, maybe, if you're treating people like things, what's to stop things from acting like people? Angry people. So no, it was a good story. It took what is increasingly becoming the very tired plot element of Dipper's crush on Wendy pulling him towards adulthood, while his, feelings of being a sibling with Wendy pull him towards, with Mabel, pull him towards childhood. But it found a new and interesting way to use it that was really quite good. The only other thing I really want to observe is that putting the pig, whose name I am completely blanking on, but putting the pig in a business suit was hilarious and adorable. The end credits gag with the lolcats was a little tired just because lolcats are tired, but just the image of him in the suit was adorable. I also loved him as the chest burster coming out of Uncle Stan. I don't know about those kids, but if a pig started screaming in my face, I would be frightened. Pig screams are scary. But, whatever. Not a lot. It's a fairly simple episode. I think the only other interesting thing there is the ending, where Stan makes that comment about pure evil, and everybody starts laughing. We have an everybody laughs ending, and then Seuss cuts in with, "I ate a man alive tonight." Which in a sense he did. He ate the candy monster from the inside out, which was weird. Especially because the piece he was holding, when the candy monster finally, thanked him for enjoying its taste and then died, the piece Seuss was holding and took a big bite out of was shaped exactly like a heart. Not, the heart shape that's used as a symbol, but an actual heart with, the aorta sticking out and that other, vena cava? I think it's called the vena cava. Sticking out below it, and yeah. No, it was, kind of a creepy image. And he just takes this huge bite out of it, and then those two pieces fall off. And so, yeah, I liked the callback to it, where Susan's like, yeah, I ate a man tonight. It was a living, sentient being. I ate it from inside its own stomach. Kind of this gag that, when it comes down to it, that's what Halloween is about. It's about celebrating the dark, the weird, the macabre, what some people might consider evil, but, it's really not. Real evil is done by pigs in business suits in boardrooms. Very little real evil involves ghosts or goblins because, hey, they're not real. And I also love that they're joking about, how they've been so evil when, of the kids, only Grindel? What's her name? The very hoarse-voiced little girl. Anyway, she was dressed as a witch, but the others were dressed as peanut butter and as jam and candy and some kind of superhero. They were very much not doing the evil Halloween costume route. If anything, Seuss's costume was a parody of the sexy fill-in-the-blank costumes that get sold to women at Halloween, which I've never liked. I much prefer... I'll be honest, I don't care that much for Halloween. It's not, by any means, one of my favorite holidays. Basically, ever since I realized that I am a grown-up and can buy candy whenever I want, even an entire bag, it's kind of stopped interesting me. Because, I can watch horror movies whenever I want, I can eat candy whenever I want. What's the point of having a day for them? But other people really enjoy it. They really enjoy the costumes and dressing up and so forth. And they can dress up as whatever they want. I don't care. I feel like the men's costumes are scary, women's costumes are sexy thing is, fundamentally sexist. I would be okay with it if there were sexy fill-in-the-blank costumes for men and scary costumes for women and, better yet, just all costumes of all kinds for all genders. But, whatever. I enjoyed the idea of Seuss being a parody of it, or just the general silliness of a man going around in shorts and a cape and a mask. In fact, come to think of it, he may not have been a superhero at all. Maybe he was meant to be a Mexican wrestler. Because, that's kind of the costume you associate with that. Huh. Oh well. Anyway, good episode. Really well structured. A lot of fun. Absolutely loved the design on the candy monster. I loved the spider-like way it moved and when it sprouted extra limbs and just like the grotesque malleability of it was great. So yeah, I really enjoyed this and I'm looking forward to the next one. Thanks and see you all next time.